So I was asked to speak at a Patriots event out in Ohio a couple weeks ago. And I found a card. He wasn't there, but I found a card and I read it. And I was like, man, this guy's got it. And we spent an hour on the phone yesterday. So I want to welcome Mark Pukita to America Unhinged this morning. Yeah, you and I could have went on for hours yesterday. I mean, that was just I know when people are in unity that you end up having that neither side can really kind of stop talking. You just want to keep talking, but we got things to do in our lives.
Right.
So I want to let you just introduce yourself, what office you're running from, and then we'll go and just talk about the problems that are facing us as a nation.
Great. Thanks, John. So I'm Mark Pukita. I want to be Ohio's next U.S. Senator. I'm running because, like many Americans, I'm not happy with what's going on. I live the American dream. I come from a lower middle class family. My grandfathers were coal miners in northeastern Pennsylvania. My parents had outhouses when they were kids. I live the American dream. I made it through college, working summers and working at school at Ohio State. I'm a Buckeye. I started my own business after working for technology companies and sold it at the end of 2019. It grew to $100 million in revenue, 800 employees. I employed thousands over that, 20 plus years. And I just felt that children and grandchildren, mine and others, wouldn't have the opportunity to live the American dream like I did if we went in the same direction. So that's why I'm running. I'm the only candidate. I'm the protest candidate. I'm the only candidate in the race that got in before Rob Portman quit because I didn't think he was doing a good job for Ohioans, and I'm the only candidate in the race that will say that publicly. And everybody else got in after Rob Portman dropped out, so they must have thought that he was doing a good job. I did not. So I'm a citizen candidate. I'm running to serve, not prosper. I've never run for office before. I'm not a lawyer. I did not go to an Ivy League school. I'm just like you and everybody else. And I'm a patriot. I love America. We're the best country on the face of the earth. God has blessed us with so many gifts. And I see an atheist, progressive left trying to take those gifts that God has given us and squander them. Crush them, actually. And I just couldn't sit on the couch any longer. I had to get up and do it. It's a long shot, I know, but we're gaining tremendous momentum because people in Ohio and across the country are really, really angry about what's going on.
It seems like we had a technical glitch there. Can you tell us? I mean, I got this platform from you, but you sent me a list of 21 over. Can you just talk about what your platform is, so we can share this with the people in Ohio?
Basically, it's an America First platform that is driven off of commonsensical, constitutional Christian values. It has to do with reducing the size of the federal government. The 7 items on that card, John, are protect the country from all enemies, foreign and domestic, fix education, store and protect constitutional rights, crush the swamp, the deep state, and especially big tech. We need to be America first and Ohio first in every decision we make. We need to restore election integrity. We need to reduce the size of the federal government and reduce the dependence on entitlement programs in our country. So those are the top 7.
Yeah, and those are extremely important. And if you've been watching my show for a while, on my website, AmericaUnhingedRadio.com, I've got a video that says government, and it basically lays out what America is, the Declaration of Independence. What is Americanism? And oftentimes I use this to vet candidates. and I say to them, hey, watch this video, and if you agree with it, then we can talk about promoting you and your agenda. And I think we need more of that. So we need to educate ourselves first on what Americanism is, because it's so easy for us to fall for all the other ism: communism, socialism, fascism, Nazism, imperialism. I mean, you've got people who claim to be Americans who are voting for ideologies that are clearly not American. So we need to get back to the root of this thing. Mark, can you tell me how your campaign's going out there, and what people can do to help you?
Sure. So John, the campaign is going really well for someone who had, zero name recognition and hasn't run for office before, which means I don't have the campaign coffers of my competitors. We're running a grassroots campaign. It's a protest campaign, as I said. So what I'm doing is standing shoulder to shoulder with families and parents at school board meetings, protesting and contesting false mask mandates, false vaccination requirements, false quarantining and contact tracing programs, standing shoulder to shoulder with them, doing the work, not just doing it for publicity for me as a candidate. And I'm also calling out corruption in the Ohio Republican Party, and we can talk more about that later. But by doing this, I am generating massive followers and supporters because I'm the only candidate that's doing it. And frankly, I'm one of the few candidates that's ever done it. And they see that, number one, I'm authentic. Number two, I'm doing this to serve, not prosper. I've said I'm not taking the salary. We're going to donate it to charity. But also, not only while I'm in office, but after I'm in office, any book deals, lobbying fees, appearance fees, speaking fees, I will give that all to charity for the rest of my life. I want to try to prove to people I am in this to serve, not prosper. We'll let Ohioans decide what charities they go to, but I've got one restriction, right? And that restriction is, and we talked about this, I think, yesterday, we're not going to give that money to any charity that takes government funding, because government funding always comes with strings attached, right? Big fat strings that move that charity into that progressive, atheist, socialist mindset that we're seeing coming out of the federal government.
No, and that's perfect. And that's one of the things that I've noticed, not even politically, but even in ministry, is when I see people who are just doing things and they're not looking for anything in return. That's how I know that people are genuine. What I'm doing, I don't receive anything in return. Nobody's paying me. Nobody's giving me a salary. Most of the people that have run this platform are doing things because they understand what our founding fathers understood, that it's going to take our life, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. It's literally going to take that level of commitment to save this nation. And if we're in this for ourselves and what we can do, not only are you not genuine, but you probably are not going to have what it takes to fight this fight to the bitter end. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. What I've said is that you have to be a savage Christian warrior, and you need to be willing to fight with every fiber of your being against this. This is a fight of good against evil, of truth against dishonesty, of morality against immorality, of ethics against deviance. I mean, we all know this. You know this. We're like-minded. In some respects, we're talking in an echo chamber right now. But what I would encourage people to do is go to mark4ohio.com, mark4ohio.com. That's my website. Certainly, if you can donate. I am funding my own campaign and asking for donations. The donations won't be used to pay me back. The donations will almost 100% be used for media buys, because we've got to get the message out. But I want to thank you for having me on, because this is a big platform and this is helpful to candidates like me. And I'm hopeful that other citizen candidates will step up. We've got to get rid of career politicians in Washington. We have a uniparty there. It is corrupt across the board and across the aisle. There are only a handful of people who deserve to be reelected there. I can think of people like Jim Jordan. I can think of people like Rand Paul and Thomas Massie. But the list is very short, John, and it's disappointing in a country of 330 million plus or minus that we can only come up with the talent we've got in D.C. and particularly in Columbus. It's just astounding to me. The other point I will make is that people need to think about that sacrifice you were talking about. God blessed me with the gifts to be able to grow a company and sell it at the end of 2019 and have financial freedom, but also anti-cancel freedom. In other words, no one can cancel me because my nest egg's in the bank and I just don't care. And so people have to think about, if God has gifted you with the time freedom and the financial freedom, you must, as a Christian, you must get involved. You cannot sit on the sidelines.
I agree completely, and we got about 5 minutes, but I want to bring up one point that we talked about yesterday. I told you that I lived in Columbus, Ohio. I ran in 2006 for the Republican nomination against Steve Stivers there in his first term, and I woke up one morning and just knew I was supposed to run. So, I mean, I knew that was divine. Had no idea what I was doing, sought out some counsel, some good people put me in the right places. I got to stand before the Republican National Nominating Committee in downtown Columbus. And there was 500, governors, senators, representatives, a lot of people there, and we were seeking the nomination. And it was then that I realized how absolutely corrupt the top of the Republican Party is. I'm not talking about the rank and file people. I'm talking about the key positions in leadership, who determines who gets in there and who does not. So here you got a guy that I think that retired at 32 years old. He was a bank plant. That was the banks put him in there. He's a part of the deep state. He was there to. Yeah. He was there to forward the bank's agenda and not the American people's agenda. And I realized at that point how corrupt that entire institution was. Again, it's both Democrat and Republican parties. Now, it's not the people, it is the parties.
Right.
So can you talk about your experience with that?
Sure. So what we're doing in my campaign, I thought I do not want to just campaign and make it a one-way, me talking to people and them asking me questions. I wanted to also leave Ohio better than we found it. That's one of our mantras. So we're working on education, getting rid of critical race theory, getting rid of racist doctrines, and getting the Ohio Board of Education to repeal a CRT mandate. And on the other hand, we're fighting and exposing corruption in the Ohio Republican Party. And there's three aspects to that. One, there is a $2 million accounting irregularity that Bob Paduchek, the chairman of the Ohio Republican Party, refuses to have audited. In the bylaws of the Ohio Republican Party, it calls for an audit of the books every year. Guess how long it's been since they've had an audit?
Hello.
16 years.
Oh, yeah.
16 years. And I don't believe anybody's necessarily pocketing that money, but I think it's going inappropriately to campaigns that the grassroots don't support, like Mike DeWine, our tyrannical governor. So I'm calling it out, and I've got a target on my back now. We need to get that audit done, and we need to see who's been doing what with the money. Second, the ORP, the Ohio Republican Party, needs to stop primary endorsements. Primary endorsements are the way they rig the game for insiders and establishment people like a Steve Stivers that you talked about, where they get all the largesse from the party. They get on slate cards. They get money. They get staff. They get access to high dollar donor lists. That needs to stop because, as you know, anybody that gets a primary endorsement, they probably got a 95% chance of winning the primary. It's a rigged game. And then on top of that, state central committee members on the Ohio Republican Party endorse themselves so they can have access to the money, the slate cards, and the staff. In business, we would call that insider trading or a rigged game. This corruption, I think in Ohio, we've got the most corrupt state Republican Party in the nation. You experienced it.
where you can find us. We can find you real quick.
number4ohio.com. And you can find everything there. And there's also links up the top of that page for our social on Facebook, Twitter, etc.
That is awesome. Look, I appreciate your patriotism. I appreciate your service. Yeah, the whole game is rigged, and I think a lot of people need to understand that. Just real quick, I got about 30 seconds left, so I'll just kind of finish up. When I gave my speech to the Republican Party, I told them I was here to end abortion. Steve Stivers got up and said he was not here to end abortion. Plain and simple. The Ohio Christian Coalition of Ohio basically put him on the pro-life card for the next 16 years when they knew very clearly he had zero intentions of ever ending abortion. So they're lying to Christians. They're lying to the church. They have been for a long time. They come pandering to us for their vote every election year. These people need to be thrown out. Mark, appreciate having you on the show.